Yeah, so my name's Jamie. I'm a partner in an accountancy firm. I'm just about to turn 39, so not that far off the big 40, and was pretty keen to try and sort my sort of health out effectively. Um, I wasn't. I was pretty embarrassed looking in the mirror, I suppose. I'd put on a lot of weight, um, and I think that obviously has lots of impacts mentally as well in terms of your own confidence. Um, but also, I was pretty conscious. I have two young children, and I was feeling more and more unfit. And used to get comments from them around, the size of my belly and things like that, which they just thought was funny, but it was true as well. So I was probably getting to a point where I kind of was making it worse the way I was eating, because that's kind of, I was using food in a way to sort of relieve stress. The job is stressful, and it was kind of my reward mechanism. So it was almost making things just a lot worse. So it was probably in a pretty bad physical and mental shape actually when I met Lee. I think the kids was a big thing, because I did want to try and keep up with them, playing football with my son and things like that, where I couldn't keep up. But I think perhaps also confidence at work, putting a suit on, putting clothes on, and feeling that I was kind of turning into that sort of fat middle-aged man, I suppose, that I'd not ever really wanted to turn into. So lack of confidence, pretty depressed about it, feeling that I didn't really know how to deal with it, which was almost a bit defeatist, because you think it should be pretty straightforward to deal with that, in terms of understanding why you put on weight. And I think I've always been pretty aware of why I put on weight and the sort of foods that I eat and what the bad ones are and the good ones, but kind of not really being able to sort of get the motivation or will to go and change it. So I think I was very much into sort of throwing myself in to try and lose as much weight in a short period of time as possible. So I'd use things like keto, for instance, and things like Slim Fast. The Slim Fast, I say I used it, I bought it and it's still in the cupboard unopened. And keto, what I found was I lost weight, probably half a stone in probably quite a short period of time, but then I've probably put a stone back on again. So effectively that kind of yo-yo diet thing just doesn't work, because it doesn't fit into your lifestyle either, and it's not something that you can keep up forever. The whole thing with Lee was much more sustainable. It wasn't like I got there on sort of day one, first meeting, and he said, well, you've got to eat salads now for the next 12 weeks. It was completely different to that. Made some small changes, actually, some of which had a really big impact. And I've continued since. So I think it was more doing something sustainable that helped with working with Lee. One thing that surprised me and I wasn't prepared for was there's actually a lot more, I'd say, psychological type stuff in there. So really focusing on what it is that you're trying to achieve, why you're doing what you're doing, trying to pull up things really that are almost subconscious, so you don't really think about, but kind of refocusing. I went through a number of pretty significant life changes actually on that program with Lee, so I sort of made it pretty hard work for him in a way. But what we covered was, not, when you talk about doing something like this, everyone just assumes that, he's telling me to do like 50 burpees or something like that a day, and eat things like salad and chicken. It wasn't like that. Actually, there was a lot of things about reassessing what was important in life, and that was important to me, because the way I use food, I think there was a large mental reward element to that. So trying to unpick that was pretty important, and I'm convinced that that's probably a large part of why people do put on weight, do get fat because of the mental element of eating, rather than whether they understand whether something's bad for you or not. So yeah, that's probably the key thing. So he's challenging, so he's not going to let you get away with things, but also supportive at the same time. And it was wide-ranging, so he supported me through almost some career challenges, some personal life challenges, all things that would impact my sort of health, fitness, but importantly set me up for a sort of life change effectively. And I was sort of really appreciative of that, and I've sort of I recommend him for other people, especially in similar situations, sort of people that are successful and perceived to be successful, but actually ironically really struggle with this sort of thing, which you'd think it was quite basic, but it has always been quite hard for me. So yeah, it's been a really good experience. So it feels good. I would say I think it's a journey that's continuing for me. So I've still got more weight that I want to lose, and despite obviously the 12 weeks was finished with Lee, I lost nearly 2 stone during that period. I still do the things that we talked about with Lee, but it's a continuous journey really, and there are lots of things that I still haven't cracked that I've got to continue to work on, I think. So I think for me it was sort of changing the idea that it's a destination, but I've got to kind of continue working on stuff, which it's a continuous challenge, but I'm carrying on with. I'd say obviously weight loss, a bigger prioritization on sort of health and fitness and getting more exercise, and very much more conscious around the decisions I make around work and kind of life decisions, I suppose, and what's going to be important and benefit me the most, and my family and friends. So I think I'm perhaps managing stress better. I can deal with things, knockbacks and challenges in a more reasoned way, with more perspective, I suppose, which is perhaps what I wasn't doing before I did this program. It's probably the most committed I've been to something in terms of progressing through something towards a target. It's probably definitely the most committed I've been. Yeah, definitely. I don't really stop and think about how positive it's been, and how far I've come in that period. And it is kind of that's one of the things to work on, I suppose, to continue to stop and like you say, celebrate that. So I've got to do better on that. Nice. No, just thank you to Lee, really. It's been very supportive through sort of challenging times and stuff, so, and kind of give me the tools, I think, to deal with things as they arise. So I'm grateful, and highly recommended to other people in similar situations.